All right, we are live. Welcome everybody, Monday night town hall with Chap. Thank you, Mr. Glover, for giving us the opportunity to have a conversation. Um, Tonight we got some guests. I guess we'll start with Kayan. Kayan Rosado. I met this young man 2 weekends ago. He's handing out boxes over on the east side, handing out some grocery boxes wearing his Morehouse hoodie. And from there, I'll allow you to introduce yourself, sir.
Hi everyone, my name is Kiam Rosado. I am a freshman political science major at Morehouse College. I'm really passionate about nonprofit work, and currently I'm working on forming a co-op of different Black businesses and nonprofits.
All right. And Mr. Daniel, with your patience, I'll get the other young lady here, Rael, if you want to introduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah, hi. My name is Rael. I am a sophomore at Bard College. I'm a written arts major. I don't know what else to say, but yeah.
All right. I'll share with you. Rael is the daughter of a director I work with. She is actually a very talented writer. I think you just changed majors, right, from film to writing. Okay. But she is also interested in film. Very talented. So we look forward to great things from her as well. Dasan, real quick, if you would introduce yourself to everybody, and then we'll get to our guest, Mr. Burgess, as well. You're muted, brother.
This is, of course, not my first time on these lives. I'm a published author, community activist, a political advocate. I do a lot of stuff in the community surrounding community service work. I also do a lot of stuff in community surrounding politics. I'm a political science major at Coppin State University in my second year, and I think that's it.
Man, got all these college educated people. I love it. Mr. Burgess, if you'll introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure being on. My name is Daniel Burgess. Got the invite to be on the platform. Community activist. I have my own nonprofit that I just started called Culture Rise, and it's focused on using young people to get more empowered. But previous to that, just always been involved in working in the community. Pleasure to be on.
So for everybody watching, I connected with Daniel through Chief Melvin Russell. A great man, leader in the community for over 40 years, serving as with the police. Actually got a holiday named after him on April 25th. So let's make sure we remember that every year and celebrate the man and the trail that he blazed for all of us to do our community work as well. Lewis, you want to introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll go see Mr. Tone over there.
Hey, everybody can hear me?
Yes, sir.
It's Lewis Thomas. I am the founder of PowerFest Baltimore. And of course, my partner is hosting the show, David Chap Loveless. But basically, we are about bringing peace to Baltimore through different types of strategies, outside of the box strategies. And one of the things that we do is we help to try to get the dirt bike guys off the streets that are riding illegal dirt bikes. And forgive me, guys, I'm always on the move. I'm actually leaving West Virginia now, coming from a track because we have a race team, and we try to get awareness at these racetracks and get our boys out on the track. So I'm heading back to Baltimore from West Virginia, leaving the track, but it's a pleasure to be here among so many esteemed people.
All right, welcome, Quita. If you can introduce yourself and your guest as well. You're on mute, babe.
Hey everybody, it's Quita. I'm the founder and director of Smaltmore Homes. And hey Louis. Louis and I went on a scavenger hunt this weekend after the food box distribution. We went looking for some place to give the bread and such. And Mayor Scott has gotten all the people from under the bridge. Like, it's amazing. And it was hard for us to find people in need. So it's a blessing. And I wanted to go ahead and mention that. But anyway, Smaltmore Homes, we build micro shelters and tiny homes for people experiencing homelessness. And we target redlined areas here in Baltimore. And I invited one of my mentees from way back when. Tone, are you there? Can you hear us? He does real estate investments in Baltimore as well.
How you doing? How you doing, Miss Squeeda? It's good to be here with y'all. Y'all now locked in with the youngest REI in charge. My name is Tone. Real estate investor, author, and co-producer of an upcoming documentary, The Flip Project. And the documentary about how a young Baltimore kid at 19 years old did his first real estate deal. Made $60,000, no money, no credit, no degree, and is documenting his continuing blueprint through real estate to change the narrative about real estate and Baltimore's youth in relation to real estate. So I'm happy to be here.
Man, it's good to have you, bro. So tonight, if you guys notice, we got a lot of young people in the community who do things and have different talents. And what's going on in your world, guys? Like, I'm just excited to see all of you here, and even wanting to participate in a conversation about what's going on. But this is your chance to talk to us, man. What's going on? What are you guys doing? What do you need? Nothing? I know stuff's going on. Come on now. You guys are about to graduate. I know Miss Cato's coming home soon. Kayon's already come home. What's plans for the summer? What's summer look like? Masks are coming off. Masks are off in the county. How you guys feeling?
Shit, we trying to stay alive. It's this year definitely been, and last year definitely been new for everybody. But now more than ever, it's just like, now everything opening back up. So it's a lot of danger and drama that everybody's got to be aware of. So like the event, like the day party we had the other day just got shot up. It was real fun, a whole bunch of kids out. It was like a real big activation for just kids in a safe space until it got shot up. So everybody just trying to figure it out as far as this killing situation. But more importantly though, a lot of young people was getting into entrepreneurship, wanting to start their own business, wanting to get into real estate, understand stock market and crypto and stuff like that. So, it's everybody trying to break that 9-to-5 mold.
Agreed.
Right. I think that both Keon and Dason can elaborate on that. And I'm sorry, Rael, I missed what it was that you have going on with You Love. But with the entrepreneurship, Keon, you have your nonprofit, and Dason, you've written a book. Y'all can tell us a little bit about those things.
So for me, I'm looking to start a nonprofit called When We Move in Silence. And the goal is to provide equitable resources and businesses to marginalized communities within the Black Butterfly without the necessary desire for media attention. And the reason for that is because we see so many nonprofits that serve their community. However, they always have a camera in the face that they serve. And not everybody that wants to be served wishes to have a camera in their face. So
agreed. I'm glad to hear you acknowledge that. A lot of times our culture pushes us to document everything with cameras. I think it's good to document some things with cameras because it's also why there's awareness of violence through the police against our people. At the same time, a lot of times we're encouraged to document our community efforts so that we can raise awareness and then people can get involved and see what we do and feel good about. If they're just donating money, they can feel good about that and see what we're doing. At the same time, a lot of the underserved communities and people that we serve don't necessarily ask to be on camera. So I think it's significant to acknowledge that.
Yeah, and sometimes we may unconsciously do that, like not knowing that we may be exploiting those that we serve. And it happens all the time, especially with social media. I think it's important to showcase what you do, but not necessarily exploit those that you serve.
Agree. Any thoughts on that, Dason? You're muted, bro.
Significance of having a camera and recognition when you're doing something good
You
in the
mute, girl.
community, as well as paying attention to the community's unwantingness of a camera in the face 24/7. You know what I mean? You have to find the balance between drawing recognition for the good work that you do, so that way other nonprofits or other people can actually get looped into what you do, so that way your community service can be furthered, right? But you also don't want to hurt anybody in that community in a negative way, or show them a negative light. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to your point, there's a certain responsibility that you kind of have to take. Like, I know serving the population that I serve, often I have to, I don't even think to pull out my phone because I kind of think it's not appropriate. But every now and again, somebody's like, no, I want people to hear this. I want people to know this. And it's like, okay, I could be your platform. Like, let's go. Like, we can go live or do whatever you want. But there's a level of responsibility, and we as community organizers need to keep that in mind. I know I sometimes go to a community association meeting and they're like, yes, we want help, but we don't want the kind of people that's going to do everything for Instagram. We want you to come and help clean up our neighborhood because that's what's in your heart, not because you're going to take pictures of it. You're going to let them know you were at this corner and that corner, because that's not the kind of publicity or even interest that we want in our neighborhood. So yeah, keeping those things in mind are important.
If I could chime in just with a thought on that, it's like a fine line. I feel like that you have to walk now, based on the way that it's set up as far as to be successful as a nonprofit or a community organization. Like, on one hand, you have the institutions who support nonprofits that want to see data, numbers. Everything needs to be time stamped in order for you to further progress. But then on the other hand, you have community members and everything that, like you said, have that sense of privacy. So, for example, so we registered felons for registration in April. We were able, a group of young people, maybe about 7 of us, were able to register 83 felons. But the areas that we went in, it was no such thing as camera. Like, you cannot go there with a camera, period, regardless of whether and this is us with clipboards in our hands, pulling people off of buses saying, hey man, did you know you could vote? Come here, let me do this for you real quick. It was none of that. But every time we told, after this event was over, every time we would tell people, 83 felons, we got them to do this. We did it in 2 days. Won't you join us? Won't you join us? Won't you join us? Without that proof of concept, or without them being there to see how empowering it was for felons to learn that they could actually have the right to vote, to see some of the surrounding areas, the row homes, the poverty, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like it's a fine line that you have to walk. And that's why, and I'm not plugging, I'm just being realistic. That's why our approach at Culturize is to try to find organizational tools, some of the things that a lot of businesses use to be successful, to make our community organization flourish and more successful, like CRM systems, like just basic tools that you would use to make a business successful. We feel like our community needs to start using those tools, or we won't get the type of awareness. We'll never get the type of help that we need and support that we need. It's so many nonprofits that are doing wonderful work. It's a crazy amount of nonprofits that will never get recognition or never get the funding and support they need because they're not able to accumulate data. And that's just facts. Like, everyone above us, everyone that's working here, we're all great people and we do a lot of work, but it's going to come a point in time when you try to grow your project or your work, you're not going to be able to move forward with the help of certain officials without data. So it's a fine line that you have to walk when it comes to raising awareness, but also being able to document what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think mentioning that systems are important just as much as in your business as they are in a nonprofit, because you're right. Like, we might start with counting a food box or counting how many people are volunteering, but it needs to go way further than just counting people and counting things when you're stretching and measuring your impact. So that's a great point.
I think too, it's a whole job. If you guys, some of us older guys who pursued the grants and we're doing the work, either you blow off getting any help and you do it on your own, or it's a whole job collecting all the data to get the help. And we experienced that with PowerFest, where we could have spent, we can spend X amount of hours pursuing grants and gathering all the information and jumping through the hoops. But those are hours, if we don't find someone to help us do that, those are hours taken away from doing the actual service that is our intention in the first place. So it's a fine line, it's a fine balance. I wanted to get Rael to chime in a little bit. I see the wheels turning, and she's been off at college in New York and kind of away from Baltimore for a semester. And just what are your thoughts? Because I know she's brilliant. She's a great writer. What are your thoughts, or how does what you do with your art form and your media? How does that tie into what we're talking about? Any thoughts?
I can't speak too much on the nonprofit because I've never started my own nonprofit. I did work for one for I think a couple of years, Unified Efforts. I wrote for their magazine, I Belong magazine, and
That's right.
there was a time where I was also homeless for a couple of months. So I feel like I've been on kind of both on the side of the spectrum where I can see asking for help, can be detrimental and helpful at the same time, because my boss from Unified Efforts, she was mostly in the office trying to get grants and trying to get publicity and stuff, and she and it helped us greatly, but it was kind of hard to get her to also come back and work more on the program, because she was trying to juggle that. And so I worked with the teen magazine group, so we can write papers and stuff for the magazine, which turned out great. And so yeah, I'm just saying. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I wanted to comment on that because I know you were telling me you had the experience of writing on the magazine, and I guess if you can share with us, as a teenager in Baltimore, like you said, experience in homelessness, experience different things. How did that simple thing that was available to you to be able to write empower you? Because you're at college now, on a scholarship, your grades are awesome, you're a successful student. So how did that play a role in that? How did that opportunity play a role in your success to this point?
Well, that experience writing in the magazine, I think I first got into the magazine when I was 14, maybe younger. I think I was in middle school. I'm pretty sure it was either middle school or early high school. But I feel like it gave me a voice, because that was I only just wrote a poem for that. I wasn't even really a part of the magazine. It's just the director heard about me, and she wanted to make me fire chief for the day and write in the magazine. So I sent her a poem, and people started noticing and liked it, and that made me want write more. Because right now I'm currently putting poems together to hopefully make a book of poems. And it just felt like it gave me a voice, someone, even if a few people listen, people are listening. And honestly, I'm not really doing it for people who listen. I'm doing it for me to just get it out there. So
very cool. I appreciate you sharing that. That's awesome. Donnie's dropping in the panel. Any thoughts on May 31st, ignites 100 years since Black Wall Street was destroyed in Tulsa, Oklahoma, possibly the most accomplished Black community in the USA? It's a question for you guys, man. So I'm feeling let's recreate that community in Baltimore, bro. Let's blow it up. Let's play the new Black Wall Street, baby.
It's
Yeah,
you know the
I
new
feel
Black
like it
Wall
could be
Street.
done.
I'm gonna let you speak, whoever that is speaking.
I don't know. I just was saying, I feel like a new Black Wall Street could be done, but if you actually look through history, it's been a lot of things that Black people have created Black people have formed and developed for our betterment or the betterment of society as a whole that have just been, torn down, and then we look back on history saying, let's do that again. Let's rebuild that, right? But it's harder than it looks, right? We have a lot more issues that far outweigh, just the economic part of our problem. So I don't know. I think that's something to consider in, when we look back, the 31st at the Tulsa, Oklahoma Black Wall Street incident.
Go ahead, Tom. What's your thoughts, man?
Quan, you make a good point when you talk about, it's something that can be done, and it's something that, we got to work towards. But I think we already made a real good start on that. Like, as far as what's going on in Baltimore in 2020 during the pandemic, it was a renaissance for a lot of small businesses, like a lot of local small youth-owned businesses and businesses that have really been, used by the culture really took off in 2020. So I'm wearing one of my, my homeboy clothing line right now, and there's so many other people that then got into entrepreneurship, starting up restaurants and food businesses and clothes. And right there on 25th Street of 25th and Charles Street, that's right there. We everybody in Baltimore call that the Black Wall Street along there on 25th because it's like so many different shops and stores.
I hear you, Tom.
You feel me?
Yeah, I do. I do. I know what you're talking about.
Off tour, no excuses. So many different, banging Baltimore businesses that's just, but they not a part of no merchant associations. They not, on no Greater Baltimore committee. So, the rest of Baltimore Business Journal and none of that don't acknowledge them because, we atypical young entrepreneurs, but, we got that going on in Baltimore though.
Right. Got one of the biggest, I just wanted to comment, one of the biggest contractors in Baltimore is right there on 25th and Howard, R.E. Harrington.
And Tone, you was really speaking on it. I agree with you, Tone, 100%. Because during the pandemic, don't quote me exactly on this number, but I know it's up to like 40,000 Black-owned businesses flourished, and a lot of people for the first time stepped out on that rim. So I feel real positive about Black Wall Street, and I challenge us to change our perspective on what we see Black Wall Street as. Know that Black Wall Street was however many years ago. There's been a big influx as far as technology and the use of technology to start and run businesses. So Black Wall Street necessarily doesn't have to be a community. It can be an online network that works as if it's a community. Like, this is the 21st century. So if they can do that with brick and mortar buildings and institutions, and we can within 6 to 7 months grow 40,000 businesses and use technology and programming and things of the 21st century, we can do Black Wall Street without opening up a store or a location. It's all about challenging ourselves to organize, strategize, and do things differently.
Agreed.
So Tone was talking about Black Wall Street and the lack of recognition. What was it that I missed because my phone went out? Sorry, guys.
He was acknowledging a lot of the startups that came through in 2020 through the COVID culture. A lot of overlooked businesses, a lot of businesses that weren't, necessarily recognized by the Baltimore Business Journal, but have been successful and kind of been renaissanced through the COVID culture. And he was commenting on how that's it'll be a foundation for the next, Black Wall Street here in Baltimore. And Daniel shared, obviously, like, it doesn't have to be brick and mortar, but it does feel good for, at least for people my age. It feels good to have a brick and mortar. It feels good to walk into a mom and pop instead of going to Walmarts and Home Depots and all that, or the hair cuttery or whatever, man. It always feels good to go into the neighborhood spot. So we definitely need our people to be successful. And then when our people are successful business wise, we don't have to beg systems of oppression for crumbs to do the work we're doing, right? We can look to each other. I can look over to, Keon can look over to Tone and say, hey man, I need $1 million to serve this community, and Tone can be like, bet, I just made 10 times that. Here, take it, go serve our people, man. We can just look, instead of looking, from under the foot of the system and saying, hey, can we have this grant? Can we have these little bits of whatever, and jumping through all the hoops and everything? We just say, hey, bro. Rael can say, hey, I'm writing the film, man. I want to do your story. Talk to me, man. You're not sitting there begging for permission, or you're getting it from a successful white movie producer or writer. You're going to your sister and saying, hey, tell my story. Help me tell my story. What's it look like? And then Rael can turn to Deshaun and say, hey, I need a publisher. Who published your book? I need help publishing my book. He can show her the way. We're just looking to each other. They out there in the streets. I know you heard it, man. We all we got. We all we need. That's my brother McNair, man. That's his pops initiated that, and it's very true. And I think we just need to all embrace that. We are. Don't get me wrong. I know I'm a white boy from the Northeast, man, but I'm from Baltimore, man, Chocolate City, bro. And it's like we don't. My brothers growing up, we're all treated like the minority, but look around us, man. We're the majority in this city. So, I try to encourage you guys, and I try to encourage the kids, like, we are the majority. Start acting like it.
Yeah, and you make a real good point, Chap, when you talk about the fact that we can create our own, and that's been a conversation that everybody's been having for a long time. We need our own this, we need our own this. We got that. We got that system. In Baltimore, like, the thing is about Baltimore kids, ain't nobody gonna wait or ask for nothing. You get what I'm saying? So whether or not SBA gonna give us a loan, or whether or not the BBJ gonna highlight us, or we gonna get invited out to by the mayor or by these politicians to all these different committees with decision making power. If we keep on, we in the content digital age. So many entrepreneurs popped up this last year that inspired so many other kids like my age to really jump out there and push our product, because we don't need the institutions. We don't need no middleman. We know how to find our customers right now online. So it's like, once a lot of kids get involved in being entrepreneurs and being property owners, you're going to see a lot of civic engagement come up. You're going to see a lot of people want to say, all right, I do want to do community give backs. I do want to go out there and give food out. Not only is it a tax write-off and publicity for my business, but, I feel a sense of ownership in this community. I feel like, I can really do something, because I'm looking from a different lens. I'm not looking from a lens of civic duty, or I'm not looking for the lens of my ancestors.
And to speak on,
go ahead.
And to speak on what he was saying about, like, the middleman, like, especially in the nonprofit sector, there's so many nonprofits, white-run nonprofits, who receive so much funding to be that middleman when they don't even understand the people they're serving. And I think that's why a lot of Black nonprofits, such as Multiple Homes, are deprived of so much funding that could have gone to them rather than corporations like Catholic Charities or the Able Foundation and so forth.
Agreed. I think too, I like what Tone was saying, because a lot of property is owned by people that aren't in the community, don't live in the community, don't care about the community. So if we take our property back, then we don't just own the physical property, but we can own those relationships in the community. We care about the community, so we're not going to take a property and just maybe make another liquor store, make another lottery store, or make something that's going to damage the community. But we can take that, make a profit from the community while serving it. We don't need another homeless shelter, because maybe the neighborhood that the homeless shelter was built in, maybe no one in the neighborhood was asked if they wanted that demographic in their neighborhood. You know what I mean? If we build a casino, maybe the people in that neighborhood didn't want the kind of interactions that come with a casino in their neighborhood. But if we own the property, we get to say what we do with it, and we know what's good for our neighborhoods already because we're from here. Then I think that's empowering. And guys like like Tone, we need more guys like you to take ownership of our city, buy our city back, man, take it back.
I think
It's
the same
happening
thing
though.
that you say about those businessmen and entrepreneurs that make decisions in places that they never lived, they've never been, can also be said about the politicians that serve Baltimore and Maryland as a whole right now. They've never been in these communities where their job is to make decisions for these communities. They've never been there. They've never talked to the people. They don't actually understand what the people need. So I think that same thing can also be said about those in power and political power.
I mean, politicians though is like customer service. You get what I'm saying? It's like they can't really do much as far as what need to be done for communities that have been hurt so bad. So again, it's like the media and everything else will paint the picture like, yo, y'all local officials gotta do this. Y'all local officials gotta do this, to the point where people will feel like it ain't nothing they can do on their own, because it's these people with their jobs is supposed to do what would need to be done for us. But people like Miss Quita is like, nah, I got these ideas, I got these relationships, I can make things happen on my own and show people, we can do this on our own. People like Rayel is like, look, I got perspectives that's needed. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm a student, I'm young, I know it's like to come up here so I can write my own book. It's like we changing that narrative, because growing up here, if you want to be honest though, everybody look at a politician like a loser. You get what I'm saying? And the perspective we need to take on them is they not our saviors. It's not their job for them to save us or to, make change, because they going into a system that don't allow that directly. So we can't really put too much dependence on it.
Big facts. I'm gonna comment on that, man, because a lot of people my age are community advocates. As we mature and we want to get involved and make a change, people encourage you sometimes, man, go into office, run for office, and like you just said, you jump into a system that ties your hands. So even if you're a well-intentioned community leader who wants to become a city councilman and then move on up, once you step into that role, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can't do. There's a whole bunch of things that you can't say. And so I'm not saying that all of them are well-intentioned. A lot of them are very selfish. But the ones who are well-intentioned, that I know personally, their hands are tied. They want to do this and that, but just like when we want to get grants from Hopkins or from the government or whatever, we have all these hoops to jump through. If a councilman wants to do something, they've got to go through the process, and the process takes so much time and energy and effort that by the time you have permission to meet a need, it's 6 months later, and then by that point the people are just like, what are you doing? We don't even need you. We already took care of it, like you said, because we from Baltimore, we just do. We just take care of it. We take care of it. We get what we need. We keep it moving.
If I could, Chap, and I love this conversation and where this conversation is going. And I think to a certain standpoint, that mentality somewhat can be a part of the problem. Like, I feel really, really good. First, let me say, I feel really, really good about this next generation of young people. I'm just really inspired. I'm 40 years old, and just the way that they think is differently than the way that we thought, and the accountability that they held for the last half a decade is the reason why Black America is in a better place than we've ever been in the history of being in this continent. It's the reason why, because young people started it off. And if you want to just go Baltimore alone, since 2015, Mondawmin. But basically what I'm trying to say is we got to get out of the mentality of, we're just going to do it on our own, and making sure that those that represent us. Because a lot of times those are our brothers and sisters too. Those are people of color. Baltimore is ran by Blacks. Everybody knows that. You know what I mean? We have to hold them accountable. And my challenge to the young people is the way that Keon thinks and Lord thinks and everyone on this panel thinks. If we could operate that style of thinking outside of nonprofits and start inspiring other youth and holding our elders accountable to make this a church conversation, a business conversation, a barbershop conversation. Like, it shouldn't be kids who are cut out to work in the community. All of our youth should share this same civil engagement conversation duty. And then when we do that, let's educate our youth on how to fight. like how to take bills to the councilmen that represent their district. Not, you know what, we're just going to do it ourselves. No, we're 21 years old. We're going to go to Out for Justice. We're going to write legislation. We're going to find out who our councilman is, and 50 of us are going to show up. And in 4 years, if this guy doesn't hear us, then one of us will be the next councilman. Because regardless of how much we can do individually, we have resources and we have things that are they're ours as taxpayers. That they're ours, and your kids' education and everyone else's relies on this. So we have to start teaching our youth how to hold those in positions of power accountable.
They work for us, man. They
Yeah, I
do.
completely agree.
I think that
yeah, I completely agree. I think that a lot of times when we view politicians, we view them in kind of a cynical light. Like we say, well, they're not there for us. They're not going to do anything for us. Why should we count on them? Why not count on ourselves, right? And I'm not going to say that that's wrong. Of course, we should be counting on ourselves as a community, as you know, brothers and sisters. But there has to be a level of responsibility that we hold our politicians to. A lot of times, politicians say that their hands are tied on something, and it's not. It's just they're lazy, or they think that engaging in something that that we want, right, will ultimately end in them losing their seat, right? Which is, you know, not something that we care about. We want what we want. We need what we need. We don't care about your seat. You shouldn't either. You're here to serve us, right? You're here to protect us. You're here to provide for us. And, you know, so I think we kind of view politicians in a cynical light. We think that they can't do anything a lot of times, or they just won't do anything a lot of times. But we as young people, and even, you know, the elders who have sometimes, you know, can be a little bit set in their ways, we have to encourage everybody to you know, like you said, 50 people to go up to, you know, Annapolis and knock on the doors of senators and representatives to get what we need done.
So I wanted to jump in. I'm sorry, Keon. I'm gonna go real quick. I promise. So I think we need it on all the levels. I think that there are people my age that don't know how to write a bill. So yes, kids need to know, but adults need to know too. It's not common knowledge. Like I just had a really good friend, Bree Jones, Parody Homes. Shout out Bree, doing excellent work in West Baltimore. Look her up. But she just got a bill passed related to home ownership, and these are things that aren't common knowledge, but people in the community are doing, and it's knowledge that can be shared. And it's not that it's hidden in a book. It's just that we don't know people that have done it, and so we don't see ourselves doing it. But to Tone's point, to Dayson's point, like we have the resources right here, and it's a matter of engaging and sparking that interest. Go ahead, Keon.
I was going to talk specifically about what Chap was saying about politicians saying like their hands are tied. In Baltimore and Maryland, you have so many politicians who say, "Oh, my hands are tied" in regards to Black issues, but they would jump as soon as the white person in the white L has a problem. It's like so many resources go towards the white L and white developers when it should be going to you, Miss Quita, and Tone. Like it happens all the time.
And let me comment on that. Is that?
Can I?
Go ahead, Tone. Yeah, go ahead, Tone, please.
Everybody talking about this is making good points. You know, everybody is, you know, Miss Quita, you talking about how bills is being passed, but nobody know what's going on as far as the people that need to know. Keon, you saying like, you know, it's different results and different responses, right? You know, somebody said earlier, I hear this all the time. They're like, we gotta hold these people accountable. We gotta hold these people accountable, right? But guess what? It's like, I'm gonna tell y'all this. I'm gonna be real with y'all. We gonna be real. Like, you know, it's like, yo, you can't say you're gonna hold these people accountable if you don't have what they need. You know, so they probably only need you 1 year for your vote, right? But other than that, the people that's putting the money behind their campaigns, that got the big restaurants here in Baltimore, you know, that own and control most of the commercial and Class A real estate, that make the most money and generate the most revenue in Baltimore, they the ones that hold the politicians accountable, because at the end of the day, they got that money to do that. Holding accountable mean, okay, you know, Like, all right, not only do we got the relationships to go to the media and slander your name, you get what I'm saying? But come this next go round, nigga, you need that job. Let's say you do give that historical grant, or you do get that tax credit to Miss Bree instead of to my buddies that want to open up this restaurant down Fells Point. Oh yeah, that's your, you gone, you out of there, or oh yeah, guess what? When you rerun again, because you gonna need a job because you don't know nothing else but politics, you ain't getting that $6,000 that we used to give you, from my different restaurants. So it's like Baltimore, they tell the poor people to demonstrate, to go through these long processes, but y'all gotta think about it. The ones that needed them, we in this generation, where as though if we can't see it, we can't do it. It's an instant generation. We need it now. We need things done now because things is the killing and the way we dying is so now. So the response got to be just as quick. That old system of waiting on people and trying to hold them accountable by showing up to these meetings and all that, man, it's too much dying going on. It's too much
We gotta
starving
do
going on.
both, Tone. We gotta do both. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Daniel. I could.
No, listen, real quick, real quick. Everybody respected Fred Hampton because Fred Hampton understood that politics was war without bloodshed, and then war is politics with bloodshed, right? So Fred Hampton was somebody that wasn't worried about what the process was. He cut out the middleman and said, "Look, I already know and understand this system is designed for us to lose. Why am I going to go into that?"
Right, but Tone, but look where it
but-
got him. Like, I hear you, and he made an impact, but the system didn't want that. Like, that's why we have to be multi-attackful.
But the
And then-
Pataragis family and all that, them people ain't going to no march. Them people not demonstrating. They talking about holding them accountable. All they do is write a check. That's it. That's the real power.
So-
Us poor
Yeah,
black
but
people don't got the ability to write a
even
check.
still, that check, that check is used to fuel campaigns. It's used to create commercials that ultimately go towards us for us to make our decisions. It's
Exactly.
used for flyers. It's used for protest. Yeah, but it's on us. That money is to show us things. So if we make a decision not to vote for them, then we are ultimately holding them accountable.
Huh?
So Tony,
The money that you're saying is coming from these. Go ahead, you can go.
No, you go ahead, brother, because I wanted to get your point.
I'm just saying. So you're saying that the money that's coming from these big businesses are fueling the campaigns of the politicians that are ultimately not serving the needs of the people, correct?
Right.
Okay, so a campaign, when these companies and these entrepreneurs give these politicians that money is ultimately going to show commercials on Fox 45, right? It's ultimately going to print flyers and to for the politician to pay its lackeys per se. It's not going to pay for votes. Votes are votes. If we like you, regardless of your commercial, regardless of your flyer. If we want to hold you accountable, that money to show us a commercial is not going to make us not hold you accountable.
You right, but at the end of the day, after the vote, it don't matter who getting a seat. It don't matter who got voted in. The people
But
with
that's
the money
the cynical way of thinking about it.
No, it's not the way of thinking about it. It's what it is, bro. You get what I'm saying? It don't matter who getting a seat. The people with the power is the ones that's giving them the rule book. Like, okay, this how this thing works. You don't know.
Okay,
Ask
but
about the last
Tone,
two that got locked up.
to their point, though, what if it were you and one of your homeboys who is in the seat 3 or 4 years from now? Is it still the case that y'all are just going to do what has been done because that's what's been done? Or are you going to change and do what the community needs because you know that's what the community needs?
It's only one way somebody can do that is if somebody going there that ain't scared to go to jail or ain't scared to have their name slandered and got a lot of money. That's it. Because if they can't break your morals, they can't buy you.
Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I just wanted to speak on, Tone, a lot of things you were saying, accountability, and believe, I understand your frustration, but it's levels to accountability. That's not just particularly going somewhere and marching or protesting or speaking your mind, and those type of accountability pieces do cause immediate change. Now, if we're going to keep it real, I'm going to keep it real on here. When Quita first came on, she said, she went under the bridge and it was nobody under the bridge anymore. Mayor Brandon Scott had got all the people over the bridge. We held an accountability walk 2 days under the Christina Flowers, Bazemore, Culture Rise. We had about 30 people show up. The majority of them was young people. We had signs and pickets and everything, and we demanded that those people be from in front of that encampment. The news came out there, 4 different stations. Okay, 2 days later, Mayor Brandon Scott got all of them people from underneath the bridge. So that's what accountability looks like on an instant, but it's levels to accountability. When you say protest, that's one thing. I mean, accountable for knowing what's going on in your community, accountable for holding those people who aren't doing what they're supposed to do accountable, and understand that sometimes in this walk, brother, that's a process. Like, I know we looking for immediate change, but man, you're talking about generational problems. Like, if you're looking for Baltimore to change in 10 years, it can progress and get better, but you got to be invested into seeing a change. Like, we can't get away from what our ancestors did. Like, everything Malcolm X did, Martin Luther King did, they were holding people accountable for periods of a time. The marches, like, that's the blueprint. And that's what we got away from. Like, I'm not saying we can't be successful operating underneath the system, but man, you only gonna grow so large operating underneath the system. Like, this is America, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is something that's been going on for 400 and something years now. So you have to figure out a way how to infiltrate and change the system. And the only way you do that is through holding people accountable.
I'm gonna agree, Daniel. Like, I'm gonna say it's levels, and people, like, get in where you fit in. Protesting isn't my thing. I don't like crowds. You'll never see me out protesting, but I'll sign a petition. I'll call a governor. I'll write a district somebody you built helping to work toward ending homelessness. But get in where you fit in, as long as you're doing something and you feel like you're making an impact. Or continue to do stuff until you feel like you're making an impact. At some point, something needs to give, because what we can't do is just sit on the sidelines and complain, because that's never going to change anything.
And I just want to comment real quick.
My fault,
the problems.
I can't
Yeah,
hear
go
it.
ahead, Chap.
I keep getting kicked out.
I just wanted to comment real quick, just to back it up a little bit, and then you guys keep it going, man. It's a good conversation to have. Is that, like Tone was saying, anytime you guys do need that white card, I mean, that's what people like me are here for, man. You know, people look at me and they assume certain things, and we let them. You know, they don't know what team we play for, but I'm saying sometimes the way the system is, you do need that white card to make an approach and send an email and make a phone call, or you know, I clean up nights and go sit in the mayor's office. Unfortunately, that's the way the system works, and sometimes you need that. And so I'm just putting that out there, man. If you guys are doing stuff and it's to the point where you need that, that's what I'm here for you guys, in the least. And I think Quita muted right now, but Quita can testify, Daniel can testify, Lewis, that was on here early, can testify. You guys, Rael, Tone, Kayon, Dayson, you guys are our leaders. You know, Mayor Scott's the mayor, but you guys are our leaders. And when it comes to whatever you guys are doing, you have every resource that we've built in the last 40 years. We got you. So you're not on your own. You're not even if you 4 collaborate, you're not on your own. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 people with 40 years of relationships and resources that are here to say, like, stand on our shoulders, because you guys will be successful, and you don't need to ask nobody for nothing. We got you.
Praise dance and praise dance. You know, that's my thing. Like, we don't have to ask permission to do what's right. And if we look in all the corners, we are all we need. As much as I would love to just say, hey, Weinbergs, cut me a check. I want to build a small village over here. I know that's not going to happen, but I can continue to talk to the hood and let them know, hey, if you have people who are unhoused or experience homelessness, we can come into the community and work towards something better. So until the city, the officials, the zoning laws, whatever catches up, our work won't stop. And we all know that. So there's that.
Yeah, and another reason, man, I like this conversation we're having is because I know, Rael, you've been quiet in the corner listening, but it's what Baltimore looks like. It's not just my 2 political science majors that are going to be, you know, taking over and leading the community. You know, it's Miss Cato, it's your man Tone. there's not one single savior in this scenario. It's all of us coming together with our different skill sets and our different roles, and just doing what's in front of us, what our role is in that season, and doing it with excellence. And if we all do that and we all do it together, the old adage, like when the tide rises, all the boats go up. And if we all out here being excellent, then we can't be ignored. We're gonna take our city back. We're gonna take our country back. We're gonna lead our people to a better place, and it's not gonna happen overnight.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned Christina Flowers, Daniel. She has been working with the people experiencing homelessness around Baltimore since before I started Smaltimore, and has been doing tremendous work. So I'm glad that you did mention her. I wanted to go ahead and mention a few government or I guess city officials or people who are running who I do believe are trying to make a change. Felicia Porter, she's doing pretty good things. Melissa Wells. There's so many people who are not just standing in the sidelines and not just waiting to be told that they have permission to make noise. So I do think that Baltimore recognizes that there's power in the streets and there's powers in the court systems, and we just have to, be dual and multifaceted at attacking from all the levels.
And you know what? And that's why it's so important that we stay involved what's happening, young people, and the political current, because getting behind Miss Porter would be tremendous. You know what I mean? Like, if we knew she was one of those that were on our team, you can be 16 years old and register to vote now. So this is conversations that you can have at the cafeteria, and once you've been informed about, Quita, then Keon's like, yo, that's that person. You have influence. Everyone in this generation has influence. So now these figures can become names in our community, like through our youth. It was funny what you said, Keon, about let one white person or somebody or a different person, something happen to them, and then they respond differently. It's so true. Look what happened not too long ago with the Jewish gentleman that was visiting, I believe that was over east. That's the whole reason, like Governor Hogan and Mayor Scott and the police commissioner just met. It made all this attention because it's tragic what happened to him, but it caused an uproar. You know why? Because that man was known in his community. He was known by young people in his community. It wasn't just the fact that he was Jewish. It wasn't just the fact that he was a man of influence. It was the fact that he was known, that when something happened to him, young people in the Jewish community started posting about it. They took it to school to them. They took it to their place of worship with them. It made a commotion, So what if we can take our people of political power and make them just as influential? You know what I mean? If something happens to Chap right now, Quito or Mr. Burgess, me, I don't care that I'm not a politician. I guarantee you it will be an uprise. It will be an uprise because we are known in our community. And we need young voices to know who we are, other people, who you are, and spread that influence through social media. If we're not posting, giving away food, let's post something about these people of influence that are coming up that are going to create that change.
Jason, were you going to say something? No, you just nodding. No, I agree. When I first started on this journey, I thought I wanted to be a politician, but then I realized y'all get in trouble for doing a lot of the stuff that I just know I'm gonna be doing. So that's not really the lane I need to be in. Like, somebody else can do that, and I'll just, do what I can over here. But politicians are necessary because it's a part of the system. So sooner or later, these political science majors, we're going to see y'all in seats, and we're going to need y'all to give back to the community as much as we're talking right now. The conversation needs to continue,
It's like, I want to get involved in politics and possibly run from there, but it's very stressful, especially in the political field, because it's like a game. and so many lives.
The game.
Sorry.
Yeah, Donnie just said that. It's dirtier than the dope game.
Yeah, it's stressful because so many families are just thrown around like they're just like a piece of trash, and it's very stressful. It is. Yeah.
And that's why it's important to couple politics with, the service work.
True, that gives you credibility. And I was just going to comment, Miss Cato, as she sharpens her skills writing and doing the poetry and expressing herself. I mean, some of the most inspirational people in our history are the Maya Angelous, are the authors, are the poets, are the people who can articulate our voice. Your voice is part of our voice, and people who can, not everybody can capture that and articulate it. And so it's so important to have people like Rael, even though I know you're over there being quiet and listening. You are very significant in our community, and you're the one who can articulate our voice, and you're the one who can capture stories and feelings and express them in ways that our people need to experience it and be motivated. Sometimes it'll motivate you to change. Sometimes it'll motivate you to sit down and shut up for a minute. Sometimes it'll motivate you to just look inward or outward or reach inward or reach outward. But it all, it just all goes back to community. It all goes back to each of us doing what we do with excellence.
Yeah, sorry for being quiet this entire time. I do enjoy listening more than talking. But I think, overhearing everything, I think one of the main things we have to do is teach young people that we have a voice, because it's not really told a lot. I think we need to actually talk to them more. Not a lot of people know what's going on. Not a lot of young people just see it and just toss it aside. I used to do that. Politics, news, it scares me. I sometimes don't even like turning it on, but I have to. And I think we need to teach, in order for this to change, we have to start younger. So we have to start at the source. We need to teach them more, talk to them more, experience more, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that
I agree with Rael?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Desan.
I was just gonna say that I agree with Rael from the political, standpoint of it. A lot of politicians, we usually tell us younger people that our voice doesn't matter, that we need to be quiet. I was taught once that politicians and older people in power created or morphed or legislated this world in the way that they see it, right? And as we grow up as young people, we want to change it into the way that we see it. But it's like a push, a fight between us two, from generation to generation. The older generation pass the bills and legislation that they want to see, and then when it's time for us to pass the bills and legislation that we want to see, they're telling us that we can't. Our voice doesn't matter. We made this world the way we want it to look, and who are you to come and change it, right? Well, it's perfect to us, so why would we even let you change it?
Well, I'm glad that you all realize that just because people are older than you doesn't mean that they're smarter than you or know more than you. So that's one thing. Let's start there. And just because it's a law or it's written doesn't mean that it's right. So knowing these things and challenging that, helps to flex your voice and flex that muscle. But what would you say we could do to continue to empower you all so that we know you all have a voice? What about your peers? What could we do to get them to understand that they have a voice as well?
Well, I spent most of my life volunteering at rec centers and stuff. I say start there. Teens go there, kids go there. You can start small. You don't have to push the heavy stuff on them immediately, but just start a conversation, because then that can slowly bridge the gap. We have a long way before we bridge the gap between generations, but it can slowly do that. We can see if we can talk more at schools. I know COVID has kind of messed that up, but kind of host a bit more community events, things like that, things that can start bringing us together so we can start actually having the conversation and stuff.
Yeah, that's
really
I would
say opportunity.
Go ahead, keep on.
So Rael, when she I think she said when she was 14, she was given the opportunity to write in a magazine. I think opportunity is a big way to also, allow us to, get our voice out there, to talk about some of the issues that are plaguing our community, our generation.
And even how we talk about social media, like there's so many within our generation that use social media as a platform to express how they're feeling, and some of them post how to, I guess, sort of check their politicians, you know, like even what Ms. Kuda was saying, how she calls, like if there's an issue with her city council person, she calls the city council person, you know, and works out ways to address things that are going on in her community. But yeah.
I'd like to make just a couple of suggestions from an older perspective on how we can support our youth. And I think a lot of these are very important. First and foremost, I think we need to immediately start getting PTAs back into our schools and get the PTOs out. PTOs, I know you guys probably know the difference, but they're organized by the institution and they don't represent the demographics of the place. So until parents have a say-so in the school,
Hold on, we'll talk about that later. But
yeah, it's probably only 2 PTAs functioning right now.
I don't have kids, so I don't know nothing about school, but that sounds dumb.
Yes, okay. The PTO is it's PTA and PTO. Anybody listening, please do your research on PTA and PTO, because I think that's a big downfall in the school system. And the reason I say that is because we don't have a voice in the curriculums, or understand or know the curriculums that our kids are being taught. In there lies the opportunities. Like Black History Month this year, stop teaching my daughter about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. Teach her about Gladys West, or give her the opportunity that Ms. Cato was just talking about. Set up some, but we can't have any input in the curriculums because PTO has been removed from the school. And I think also from this older generation, what we could do is parent differently. And even to the younger generation that are coming up as parents, sometimes in our culture, we don't give our children a voice just in life in general. It's like, stay in a child's place, or this is grown folks conversation. Like, we don't realize from a generational standpoint the influence that they may have on the mind of a child. Like, I had to learn that myself.
Well.
You know, it's a difference between children being disrespectful and giving children a voice. In our culture, we're very strict on our children. My daughter's 9. She's beautiful. She's very talkative. She's very intelligent. If I didn't hold my tongue sometimes and try to, give her, I would never know how intellectual and beautiful that she is. So as Black parents and us older generations, let's be more lenient on our children at home and give them more time to talk and have voices about everything else, so they can feel confident in expressing themselves about the things that they see in TV that's going on. And so many kids might be seeing what's going on politically, and they're in such a strict Christian, Black, or whatever kind of household, they can't even say, like, F that, I'm mad right now about what's going on. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? So I think and then the last thing, I think as an older generation, start holding all Black institutions accountable, period. We need to stop going to these large mega churches and these places that are just pushing certain, and I don't get me wrong, I'm saved, born again, you know what I mean? I'm going to see him. 2013, I gave my life to Christ, so I'm not rebelling against the church. But Martin Luther King was raised in the church, and through that church system, he was a civic leader. So we need to start holding these institutions accountable for giving our children these opportunities. It should not be a mega church without a program that's involved with empowering our children socially. How do we have churches with 500 children, the gospel choir, youth choir, basketball program, the children's this, the children's that, they're pimping these kids, and none of these kids are raised to be civic leaders or understand that our God-given dominion is a part of that fight as well. So these are things that we like. I won't go to a church if they're not actively involved in the community. I don't care how anointed you are. You don't understand that this is a spiritual fight, but we're still here on earth. So those are just a couple ways that we can support our youth, by holding people accountable in large institutions, get the PTAs back in the schools so we can decide what the curriculum is, and then being more lenient on them at home and giving them a voice.
Thank you for that, Daniel. I love that you said, like, giving kids a voice. I think kids like me because I talk to them like they're adults. Like, I don't do the goo goo gaga. I ask you questions. I want complete sentences. Like, I think they like being treated like they're being listened to. You know what I mean? And so I always get a great response But Chap, I know it's time for us to start wrapping up.
Yeah, just to be respectful of everyone's time, and man, great conversation tonight, and great closing thoughts, Daniel. I'll just leave it with that, man. Just to say that tonight's show was an echo of what you just said. These young people here, they are my leaders. I know that they're intelligent. I know that they know what's going on. I know that they've got important ideas and things to share with us, and so I appreciate you guys for taking the time to share those thoughts tonight. And hopefully you guys can come back and join us on some other sessions as we move forward. But I really respect your time and your thoughts, and I'm grateful that you guys took the time to spend with us and share those thoughts. And yeah, just thank you guys, and thank you, Donnie, for giving us the platform and giving these kids the mic. It's very important, and hopefully you guys continue to take advantage of it while we got it. So thank you guys. Have a good night, and we'll all be in touch later.
Thanks.
Yep.
It was nice meeting everyone.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks,
Nice
Donnie.
seeing everybody.
All right, good night, y'all.
All right.